I'm Helen Morrison, 71 years old. After my husband died, my son David convinced me to sell my house and move into a nursing home, promising he'd visit every week. He took the $400,000 from my house sale, saying he'd invest it safely for me. Then he disappeared. No visits, no calls, nothing for 8 months. When I finally tracked him down, I discovered he'd used my money as a down payment on his dream house and told his wife Jennifer the money came from his inheritance. Jennifer had no idea he'd stolen from his living mother and abandoned me. I exposed everything to her, and she divorced him, taking half of everything, including the house bought with my stolen money. This is how I got my revenge. Don't forget to subscribe. Hit that bell icon so you never miss revenge stories like this. The complete story: I'm Helen Morrison, and I'm 71 years old. 2 years ago, my husband Richard died from a heart attack at 73. We'd been married for 48 years and owned our home outright, a beautiful 3-bedroom house in a good neighborhood worth about $400,000. Richard and I had planned for me to stay in that house for the rest of my life. But after he died, I felt so alone. The house felt empty without him. Every room reminded me of Richard, and the loneliness was crushing. My son David called me every day during those first few weeks, and he seemed so concerned about me. Mom, you can't stay in that big house all alone. What if you fall? What if something happens and nobody's there to help you? You're 71. You need to be somewhere safe where people can take care of you. At first, I resisted. I loved my home. But David was persistent, and I was grieving and vulnerable. He showed me brochures for Riverside Senior Living, a nice nursing home about 20 miles from his house. Mom, look how nice this place is. They have activities, meals, nurses on staff 24/7. You'll make friends, you'll be safe, and I'll visit you every week, I promise. I finally agreed. David helped me sell the house. It sold quickly for $405,000. After closing costs, I had about $385,000. David said, Mom, let me invest this money for you. I work in finance. I know how to make your money grow. You'll have plenty for anything you need. I trusted my son completely, so I transferred the money to an account he set up. Then, I moved into Riverside Senior Living. The first few weeks were okay. David visited twice, brought me flowers, seemed attentive, but then the visits became less frequent. Once a week became once every 2 weeks, then once a month, then nothing. I called him repeatedly, but he never answered. I left voicemails. David, it's Mom. I haven't seen you in 6 weeks. Are you okay? Please call me back. Nothing. I texted him. Nothing. I was hurt and confused. Had I done something wrong? Why had my son abandoned me? The nursing home staff felt sorry for me. Mrs. Morrison, we're so sorry your son doesn't visit. Some families are like that. I cried myself to sleep many nights, wondering why my only child had dumped me in a nursing home and forgotten about me. Then, about 8 months after I'd moved into Riverside, another resident's daughter, Carol, was visiting her mother and saw me sitting alone in the common area. Carol was a real estate agent, and we started chatting. I mentioned that my son had helped me sell my house and invest the money, but I hadn't heard from him in months. Carol asked casually, "What's your son's name?" Maybe I know him from real estate dealings? I told her, "David Morrison. He lives about 20 miles from here." Carol's face changed. "David Morrison? Tall guy, works in finance, married to Jennifer?" I nodded. "Yes, that's him. Do you know him?" Carol hesitated, then said, "Mrs. Morrison, I need to show you something." She pulled out her phone and showed me photos from a real estate listing she'd handled 9 months earlier, right after I'd sold my house. It was a gorgeous 5-bedroom house with a pool, valued at $850,000. The buyers were David and Jennifer Morrison. My heart sank. How did he afford an $850,000 house? He and Jennifer were living in a small townhouse. Carol showed me the sales records. He put down $400,000 cash and took a mortgage for the rest. The listing agent told me he said it was an inheritance from his father. I felt sick. David had used my money from the sale of the home his father and I had built together, as a down payment on his dream house. Then he'd lied to his wife, telling her it was an inheritance, when Richard hadn't left any inheritance because everything went to me, his surviving spouse. David had stolen $400,000 from his widowed mother, abandoned me in a nursing home, and lied to his own wife about where the money came from. I was furious, heartbroken, and determined to get revenge. I contacted Jennifer through Facebook. I'd always liked Jennifer. She was sweet, kind, and had no idea what David had done. I sent her a message. "Jennifer, this is Helen, David's mother. I need to talk to you urgently about something important. Can we meet for coffee?" Jennifer responded within an hour, sounding concerned. "Helen, of course, is everything okay? David told me you were doing great at Riverside. I've been meaning to visit, but things have been so busy with the new house." We met at a coffee shop the next day. Jennifer hugged me and said, "Helen, you look thin. Are you eating enough at Riverside?" I took a deep breath and said, "Jennifer, I need to tell you the truth about something, and it's going to be very upsetting." I explained everything. How David had convinced me to sell my house after Richard died. How I'd given him the $385,000 from the sale to invest for me. How he'd promised to visit every week, but hadn't visited or called in 8 months. How I discovered he'd used my money as the down payment on their house and told Jennifer it was an inheritance. Jennifer's face went pale. "Helen, that's not possible. David told me his father left him $400,000. He said you were financially secure from Richard's life insurance and didn't need it. He said Richard wanted him to have the inheritance to buy us a house." I shook my head, tears streaming down my face. "Jennifer, Richard didn't have a $400,000 life insurance policy. We had $50,000 in life insurance, which I used for funeral expenses and living costs. Richard left everything to me. That's how marriage works. The only large sum of money David got access to was the $385,000 from my house sale, which he was supposed to invest for me. He stole it and lied to you about it." Jennifer looked devastated. "Oh my God, Helen, I had no idea. I would never have agreed to buy that house if I'd known the money came from you. We could have bought something smaller. I thought it was a legitimate inheritance." I showed her bank records I'd requested from the account David had set up for my money. The account showed a transfer of $385,000 in, then a withdrawal of $400,000 out 2 weeks later, going directly to the down payment on their house. The remaining balance was $3,200, all that was left of my life savings. Jennifer was horrified. Jennifer went home that night and confronted David. He tried to lie at first, claiming I was confused and didn't understand finances, but Jennifer had seen the bank records. She called me on speakerphone, and David finally admitted everything. "Mom, I was going to pay you back eventually. The house is an investment. It'll increase in value, and then I can sell it and give you the money back." I said coldly, "David, you stole my money, lied to your wife, abandoned me in a nursing home, and ignored me for 8 months. You used the money your father and I saved for 50 years to buy yourself a dream house, while I sit alone wondering why my son doesn't love me anymore. There's no coming back from this." Jennifer filed for divorce 3 weeks later. In our state, assets acquired during marriage are community property. Since David had used my stolen money to buy the house, and Jennifer could prove she'd been deceived about the source of the funds, the judge was not sympathetic to David. The divorce settlement gave Jennifer 50% of everything, half the house equity, which meant half of my $400,000 down payment, half their savings, half his retirement accounts. David had to sell the house to split the equity. After the sale, Jennifer gave me $175,000, her share of the down payment that had come from my money. It wasn't the full $385,000, but it was substantial, and Jennifer didn't have to give me anything legally. She did it because she's a good person who was horrified by what David had done. David also had to pay me back through a court order. The judge ruled that David had engaged in elder financial abuse and conversion of funds. He was ordered to repay the remaining $210,000 plus interest over 10 years through monthly payments of $2,100. If he missed payments, he'd face contempt of court charges. David's life fell apart completely. Jennifer divorced him and is now happily remarried. David had to move into a small apartment and is struggling to make the court-ordered payments to me, while also paying alimony and child support for their 2 kids. His reputation in our family is destroyed. Everyone knows what he did. His sister won't speak to him. I used the money Jennifer gave me, plus my monthly payments from David, to move out of Riverside Senior Living into a beautiful assisted living apartment with my own kitchen and living room. I have friends here, activities, and enough money to live comfortably. I also have a relationship with my grandchildren because Jennifer makes sure they visit me regularly. She tells them, "Your grandmother is a strong woman who didn't let anyone take advantage of her, even her own son." David has tried to apologize several times, claiming he made a mistake and didn't think it through. I told him, "David, you didn't make a mistake. You made calculated decisions over months. Convince your grieving mother to sell her house, take her money, lie to your wife, abandon your mother for 8 months, and ignore all her calls. Those weren't mistakes. That was a deliberate plan to steal from me. You're only sorry because you got caught and lost everything." He has no response to that because it's true. I'm 71 years old now, living comfortably in my assisted living apartment with my grandchildren visiting regularly and monthly payments coming from the son who tried to rob me. David thought he could take advantage of a grieving elderly widow. He thought I'd be too confused or too weak to fight back. He learned that underestimating your mother is a very expensive mistake. Every month when David writes that $2,100 check, he remembers the mother he betrayed and the wife he lost because of his greed. And every month when I deposit that check, I remember that I didn't let him get away with it. Some people think I was too harsh, that I destroyed my son's marriage and ruined his life. But David destroyed his own marriage by lying to his wife about stealing from his mother. I just told the truth. Jennifer deserved to know she was living in a house bought with stolen money from her husband's abandoned mother. The truth set her free, and it gave me justice. That's my revenge, and I'd do it again. The end.